I want a Battle of Britain. I want the best version of Anthony Joshua. I want the best version of Tyson Fury.
Makes sense.
You know, and if someone's going to get their face punched in, I want it to be because it's the best version of that person. If it's going to be their head boxed off by Tyson Fury, or if it's going to be Anthony Joshua putting Tyson Fury on his backside. Welcome to this week's edition of Talk Boxing. We've been away for 2 weeks, but we're back now and good to go. Spencer Oliver, Simon Jordan. Spencer Oliver, how are you?
I'm very well, Simon. Yourself? How was Qatar?
Very good. Lots to have seen, lots to have been, lots of places to have gone. It was a fascinating country. They're going to have an appetite for boxing, by the way. Talking to some guys over there, if they think that the Saudi Arabians are going to dominate the boxing landscape, Qataris will have a view on that. I think there'll be lots of opportunities over there because of the logistics of stadiums being built and the desire to build their country, and at the centre of it, whether we like it or not, sports washing or not, will be the ambition to get major level sports into Qatar alongside the World Cup, maybe the Olympics, and I suspect boxing. So interesting, but I have to say, despite all the background noise about Qatar, lovely country, challenges, LGBT issues need to be addressed, and their belief system will have to evolve over a period of time. But as a country, fascinating. As an opportunity, what a place to go and make some money if you want to.
What sort of place was you staying in? Because we obviously done a show from over there. They looked like a shabby old pair of curtains you had hanging up there. I don't know if you was doing like a 3-star or did they downgrade you?
Shabby was the place that they put everybody in from the outset, which looked like they were filming inside The Shining, where they made the film, or the Norman Bates Motel. Right? None of that. Off I went to some beautiful hotel in the middle of Doha in an area called La Salle. So I don't know what curtains you think you saw, but there were beautiful curtains tied up. It's probably because I shoved some random out on the balcony. That's why I pulled the curtains together. That's probably what it was.
Yeah, I think that you maybe have been trying to make me feel better for not being out there and putting some makeshift shabby old pair of curtains up. No, Spence. I mean, I've missed.
I love you, Spence, but I just don't dig you that way, right? So it's not a case of I'm worried about what you're thinking.
Anyway, let's get on to
the show. Listen, obviously we had the main feature event last week was the return of Tyson Fury.
Yeah.
And the fight against Derek Chisora, a much maligned fight, a fight maligned by people like me, in conversations that I've had previous with you in shows like this, in conversations I've had with Frank Warren when the fight was announced at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and conversations I've had with my dear friend Derek Chisora. But notwithstanding that, the fight went ahead, and it produced the outcome that we all thought it would, which was a compelling victory for Tyson Fury. But it threw up a load of controversies as well. And we'll speak to some of them in a second. But Tyson Fury, what's your takeaway from this fight? What did you think his performance was like? What did you take away? Did we learn anything? Did we learn anything that we didn't already know? What was your overall view on the fight?
I think what it underlined was this performance was exactly how good and how far head and shoulders he is above the rest of Tyson Fury. I think that's what we saw the other night. And, you know,
did it, Spence?
Well, it did, Simon, and I'll tell you why. I know you look at Derek Chisora and you go, well, he's 45 fights in, lost 12, he's 38 years of age, you know, his best days are maybe behind him. He was coming off, he's in the twilight of his career, but he's actually in probably one of the best stages of his career, as in performance-wise. Like Kubrat Pulev last time,
winning form.
I know was on winning form, you know, going in there with a bit of confidence. And you know, we've got to remember the demons he's got going into this fight with the two fights that he'd had previously, 2011, 2014, where he got stopped in, he lost on points, then got stopped in 10, he retired on his stall. So he had them demons to overcome, and we knew Derek was going to bring it. Like, we knew he was going to, like, he knows his last, but he couldn't. And that's not because Derek wasn't trying. That was more because of just how good. I was sitting there, we was commentating for talkSPORT at ringside, and I was watching this fight unfold, and I'm going, do you know what? There is nothing Derek can do, as much as he is trying, he's pushing forward and winging those right hands over. There's nothing he can do. This guy is just so far in front, levels above. And that's what it underlined for me. Watching him there live like that at ringside, I'm just going, this kid is good.
The phrase,
he's special.
Well, we know he is. We know he is. And the scenario is that in the two fights where they fought before, Tyson was leagues apart from him. Tyson, I believe, has got better. Derek has got worse, so there's no surprise that the gap got wider, which is why the argument has been raging. The allegation and the analogy...
Well, I don't think Derek's got worse, though. Well, that's the point. I think that because Derek, I think, is mentally in a stronger place. Yeah, I do, Simon, honestly. Okay. I see Derek on a day-to-day sort of basis, and I see him in the gym, and I think that The fighter he was in 2014 and the fighter he is today.
Do you think he's physically better? I mean, mentally he might be better, but physically he can't be slowed down.
I think the guy of today would have beat the guy in 2014. Okay. I'd seriously believe that.
All right, well, we'll agree to disagree, and I'll bow to your knowledge as being a fighter. But the allegation that's running around, the analogy is, was this just a bloody expensive sparring session?
Well, this is where I see it. Well, from what I saw there was times in that fight where Derek we knew was always going to try, and you know, he's the last guy that's ever going to quit, right? Derek needs saving from himself. That's probably a fair way of saying it, because there's no way he's got a lot of fight in him, and he'll just keep going. And as the fight was unfolding and we was watching it, by the time we got to round 6, I'm now going, I've seen enough here. Tyson Fury was beating him to the jab. He was hitting him with unbelievable uppercuts. Derek looked unsteady on his legs, and I thought, look, Derek's not going to win this fight. Hopefully the corner saves him or the referee saves him, because he's not going to save himself. That's how it was. Then we get into 7. Then we get into 8. Then it starts becoming uncomfortable, where you're going, now someone needs to save him. Someone needs to step in. I think that's where the controversy was.
John Fury himself was saying that kind of, I don't know whether you want to hear this kind of language or not, but it's what John Fury said, that Tyson gave mercy to Derek Chisora. Do you think... I don't think it should have been stopped earlier. Yeah. I think that if Derek Chisora was in control of his faculties, whilst it was a beatdown.
Fair point.
It was a beatdown, wasn't it? And the history of Derek Chisora. I remember George Groves talking. Do you remember when George Groves talked after the fight with Carl Froch about the referee Howard Foster stopping the fight, and he turned around and said, "It's because I've got a reputation for being chinny. I don't know where I've got this reputation from, and Carl's got this reputation for being a hard man, that they stopped this fight early." There's a perception that maybe because Derek Chisora's got a reputation for being able to take a hell of a lot, that maybe the referee gave him more latitude. Do you think it should have been stopped?
No,
or do you think that ultimately it got stopped at the time when there really was nothing left for Derek to offer? He was getting to the point where he possibly was going to move into territory of getting really hurt in the short term. We don't know the long-term effects of that kind of beatdown.
Sure.
But do you think it should have been stopped?
I think you hit a valid point there. There was no point in that contest where Derek Chisora looked in trouble for the referee to jump in. So the only one that can save him from anything else is the corner. The corner obviously felt comfortable the way that Derek was, the way he was responding. And we know what Derek's like. You go, he's never going to get another world title shot. Let the kid have a shot. But I'll tell you where I think it should have been stopped. When he went back at the end of the 9th round, he didn't want to get off that stool. Did you notice when the bell rang?
He was more reluctant,
He was like he was looking at the ref to say, stop this now, mate. But Derek being Derek and the proud man he is, he got up off his stool and he went. But at that point, I'm thinking, I wish they just stopped the fight there, because he went out and he only took a few more shots in that 10th round, but took a few more shots than was necessary. I think that... Listen, I think that Derek's been a great servant to the game, great servant to the sport, and I don't deny him his opportunity at this stage of his career. What I want to see now, though, is Derek say enough's enough, and I'm not sure we will see that.
Well, I mean, that's his gift, isn't it? I mean, we know the effects of people fighting too often and too long into their career. We've seen it in lots of fighters. We don't want to see it in this particular fighter. But I want to go back to the question about the referee stopping it.
Yeah.
There was a point in this fight where the only thing you're preserving is Derek Chisora's reputation in terms of his desire to not ever quit.
Victor Loughlin, the referee, by the way.
Victor Loughlin, but the Howard Foster referee was referred to was the George Groves.
Sure.
But the idea that after 7 rounds, there wasn't... I know you're going to say to me, possibly, and I'm probably preempting the own answer, that he's still got a puncher's chance.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you after 7
rounds, that fight was done, wasn't it?
I'm with you, Simon.
So I
said that after 6.
The only thing you're keeping Derek in there for is machismo, and for
because you know he's got balls. Because you know he's got balls.
And it seems to me like there's an element of maybe the corner should have looked at it a little bit differently.
It's not a good enough reason.
A bit different. Yeah. To Derek, look, come on, mate. You know, we've come here. We've got a good shot. I mean, Derek's gone to fight predominantly not for a world title, but because he knows he's going to get paid well out of this fight. And whether people will say that's not a right reason for fighting, fighters go to get paid money, and at the same time, if they can win some belts and some things along the way, fantastic. But at this stage in Derek's career, he is getting paid. And his main motivation is to get paid. And every time he brings up the conversation, he'll talk about, I'm going to get paid.
He said in the fight week build-up, he said, listen, I want to thank Tyson Fury for this opportunity and for giving me this payday. Yeah. He said that himself. You know, he's at the stage of his career where Derek makes, you know, he doesn't make it, he's not trying to make, what's the word I'm looking for? He's make this any sort of secret that he's doing it for
He's not
money,
hiding it,
for his children's future and for their kids' future. So he knows, he's not hiding it at all. It is what it is. And he said, listen, thank Fury for your opportunity and I'm going to give it a go. And that's exactly what he done. He done what Derek is what it says on the tin. He went in there and he done what he said he was going to do. But what we found out ultimately was that Tyson Fury is the #1 heavyweight in the world.
But we knew that anyway, didn't we?
Yeah, and we knew that. But I think it underlined it.
I mean, you might have seen earlier on in the week that Frank Warren came on a show with myself and Jim Wise. And the accusation was put to Frank about, I've said it and I said it to him again, it was a pup of a fight, right? And for me, I think there's only so many times, to coin a better expression, I've just come out of the desert, you can sell sand to Arabs or ice to Eskimos. You're going to have to deliver something more fulfilling this. And Frank's argument was, well, you can shut up because I didn't make someone pay 27 quid because the week before, 2 weeks before, I turned around and said, I think the price point is piss taking. Yeah. I still do. And he'll say, well, we put an undercard on it. Well, Frank, you should put an undercard on it. That's not a bonus for us all. No. You should put a decent undercard on it, right? But we're now moving into the territory now where he sold 60,000 fans. I can't argue against the pushback that Frank gave me, which is, you know what, I tell you what, you can bark at the moon if you want. 60,000 fans wanted to come in there. However many pay-per-views they got, they paid it. No one made them do it. It's the nature of the beast. But the next question I had out of my mouth was, right, okay, we've done this, right? We all know he had to have a tune-up. Yeah. Right? The only reason he had to have a tune-up with Derek Chisora is because he spent 5 months telling everyone he was never going to fight again. Right?
Absolutely.
Maybe if he hadn't pissballed around for 3 or 4 months, playing hide and seek with himself, we could have got better fights on that didn't necessarily mean Anthony Joshua, because I believe, despite the fact I thought the Anthony Joshua fight was a great one to have on the books, it was the wrong time for AJ. Yeah. Why would he want to fight at a time when it suits Tyson Fury? Surely if we're going to see Fury versus Joshua, we want to see the best version of Joshua, and that has to be on the back of a Joshua win, getting some momentum back in that train. So whoever wins that fight, and I think it will be Fury, at least we know we've got the best versions of one another. But the question the discussion I want to have next is, said it to Frank, okay, we've done that now. Can we now move through the gears now? Can we nail down the situation with Usyk or the other guy that I think comes at the top of the charts now, which is our own Joe Joyce.
Joe Joyce,
right?
yeah.
And can we have it bottomed out now? Because Joe Joyce in a problem. Joe Joyce is in your camp. You can nail this down now. So if you can't get Usyk, if you're going to muck about and Usyk's going to play, hide and seek with himself and whatever else, and you can't make that fight, can we please have Joe Joyce in March? And if that has to be Usyk further down the year, then it has to be Usyk further down the year. How do you see 2023 panning out for Tyson?
Yeah, but exactly.
There's 12 fights in 12 months, by the way. It's nonsense, by the way, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Of course it is. Like, exactly how you just said it there, right? I see this. I think that we get Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk. I think it happens in Saudi Arabia, and I think we get it at sort of end of March sort of time. That's where I believe it's at. Tyson Fury's roadmap for the next year, I see Tyson Fury fighting Usyk. Then I see him fighting Joe Joyce. And then I see possibly him fighting Anthony Joshua, depending on what roadmap Joshua takes. I'm on the flip side, by the way, with that. I think that Anthony Joshua, that fight when it was offered to Anthony Joshua, I think that was a good move for Joshua to take it at that point. And the reasons being, I think that he was getting offered an incredible split, a split that won't get bettered, 60-40. But you know why? I don't think his confidence was shot. I just think that he had a chance to fight for the marbles, and now the route he's got to take, right? When we talk about people that he's got, like Joe Joyce and your Dubois and your Filip Hrgovic's and your Sanchez's and all, I go, mate, they are all dangerous fights. Even Dillian White next.
Who's the most dangerous fighter in the world? Who's the best fighter in the heavyweight division? Tyson Fury.
Without doubt.
Who's coming off the back of 2 debilitating losses with a psychological meltdown at the end of the last one because he did everything he could and his frustration got the better of him. Right? The 60-40 split, that's all. The bottom line is the 60-40 split is based upon Anthony Joshua bringing an extra amount of money to the table that other fights don't bring.
Right,
it's comparable to 80-20. So they bait and switch. They give him 60-40 on a fight that Joshua brings a smoke on financially. So it's actually what Tyson would have got on an 80-20 split and fought someone else. So it's all smoke and mirrors. And I think Joshua not taking this fight, as much as I liked it and thought, okay, let's get it on, I actually thought, when I thought about it, if I'm his manager, if I'm his promoter...
What route would you take with Joshua? Like, what I'm saying is, if you get a free-fight roadmap...
I'd want to get him in there, bash Otto Wallen up. Right? Someone of that
That's who
nature.
Could possibly be next, because I've heard that's been talked about, and that's highly likely for March time. So when Fury boxes Usyk, he could fight Wallen. If he comes through Wallen, or if he boxes Wallen, he comes through that, where would you see him going after that, Joshua? How many tune-ups would you like to see him in?
I would like to see him have as many fights as he's lost to get himself back into momentum. Right, so he's lost 2 fights.
Right.
Forget Ruiz as the third fight he's lost, right? But the two to Alexander Usyk.
Two back-to-backs.
So I'd like to have seen him gone in against Wallin, done a number on him, gone in against Wallin, knocks him out.
Yeah.
Right? Showed us that he's going back to the basics that we once saw before Klitschko, before Andy Ruiz, but predominantly before Klitschko, he went into a dark place and then ultimately changed a lot about him. Go and knock Wallin out. Then, before I saw Dillian White's performance on the weekend, I'd like to have seen him fight Dillian White. See if he could straighten Dillian White in the same way that he did in the first fight, without him getting into a situation he did in that fight. And then I'd say, right, now you've got him back. Now you've got Joshua in a zone, in a mode. He's in the groove again. The confidence is back. The belief is back. The confidence in life, you can have confidence. I have confidence in business, but sometimes that confidence can be quite brittle. So whilst he might have been prepared, no one doubts that Anthony Joshua would have been prepared to take that fight. That's not the question.
Oh no, he was ready for it.
The reality is
I get where you're coming from a business point.
I want Joshua. If he's going to lose to Tyson Fury, if that's what I believe is going to happen, which I do,
you want the best version.
I want the best version.
Right.
I don't want the version that Tyson Fury wants, which is the debilitated, demoralised, slightly degraded fighter. I want the real Anthony Joshua.
And from what you get out of that is people saying, "Well, Joshua was damaged goods. He had 2 fights against the Oscars."
But he is.
I know what you're saying.
He is.
I know what you're saying, but you're saying you want that fight. When we get that fight, because that's the fight everyone wants, you want the best version of both of them.
I want a Battle of Britain. I want the best version of Anthony Joshua. I want the best version of Tyson Fury.
Makes sense.
And if someone's going to get their face punched in, I want it to be because it's the best version of that person. If it's going to be their head boxed off by Tyson Fury, or if it's going to be Anthony Joshua putting Tyson Fury on his backside, which, by the way, is the only way he can beat Tyson Fury.
Absolutely.
Right? I want it to be in that instance.
Sure.
Now, moving on from, have we come out of a conclusion about what we think is going to happen with Fury this year? Do you think he fights Usyk in March?
I think he fights Usyk in March. I think we see in summertime, back end of summertime, possibly September time, I think we see him fighting Joyce over here, possibly Wembley. This is my feelings on this, how I see it going. And then I think we get him again in September. I realistically think he fights 3 times this year. Forget all the nonsense about 10, 15 times.
Who gives him more trouble, of Usyk and Joyce?
I think Joyce.
Me too.
I'm glad. Me too. Yeah, I do.
Me too. And I think Frank Warren feels the same way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, he might do because he's got a foot in both camps.
Just because of the sheer size, strength of the guy, and he's better than what people give him credit for. Joyce, so he really is. Joyce is a handful. He's like a wrecking ball. He's a wrecking machine. Whereas Usyk is a beautiful boxer and he's got lovely boxing IQ and ring craft, etc., etc. Everyone knows that, but he's against a giant in Tyson Fury, that is the difference.
Who also has huge boxing IQ and huge ability to move and can switch and do whatever he needs to do. Anyway, let's move on to the other side of that fight. We've covered Tyson. We've talked a little bit about Derek. But let's talk about Derek specifically now. Because obviously what we saw was probably the fights that he's had with Joe Parker, the fights that he had with Pulev, the fights that he had with Dillian White. He was in those fights. And they were fights that were barn burners. They were compelling. There was heavy damage shipped out. But it wasn't a one-way transaction. This was a one-way transaction. This was a beatdown on Derek Chisora. When you look at it now, what do you think he should do? And alongside that, if what you think he should do is retire, what do you think his legacy is? If he isn't retire, what do you think his future is?
Right, so let's start with the legacy part. So if he retires tomorrow, which, if I'm honest, from a personal point of view...
He's got his pension fund,
because I've got time for Derek, a lot of time for Derek. I said, it goes back, I'm invested in him as a person. So I would like to see him retire. I think he's given everything that he needs to give to the sport. He's been British, Commonwealth, European champion.
Well, he should invest in his
boxed for the
bets,
WBC. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. But he's boxed for the WBC title twice. He boxed back in, was it 2012 against Vitaly Klitschko? Yeah, and he's boxed again here. So he's had his shots at the world title. So he's left nothing. He's given it everything, and I think he's been a great servant to the sport. He's got money in the bank. At times, and when enough's enough, and I know that he'll probably, if he sees this, he'll go to me, "What are you talking about? I know was you not happy with a fight and all that sort of stuff?" Yeah, I get that, Derek, but health is wealth, right? Don't put wealth before health. Health is wealth. And now we're getting to this stage of Derek's career where you go, right, mate, you got to start looking after yourself now, because it's not now, it's in 10 years' time when these hard fights, if you go
come home to roost,
you name some of them, Simon, and there's that other one like Vitaly Klitschko, you had this one here with Fury. Don't even forget the ones that he'd won, like people like Carlos Takam, where he took a terrible beating for 6 or 7 rounds. I go, so You look at his record and it goes lost split decision, won split decision. They're all wars, man. And like when you get to that stage, I go, come on, Del, enough's enough. And I think his legacy now, Simon, his legacy right now, he retired, he's a bit of a people's champion, Derek, because he's give people value for money. And I think people would go, they're happy with where he's at.
It's unfair that people could say, I mean, I'm not saying it, but I'm going to be the mouthpiece that said it, that he's the best paid loser in British boxing.
Well, that's very true, though, isn't it? I mean, what I'm saying is, like, what did he get the other day? He got a couple of million, 2 or 3 million quid. What I'm saying is, but that doesn't really tell the true story when you say that, because you look at what he's doing and go, yeah, he's losing, but it's about the spectacle. It's about the like. And
it's a bit of both, isn't it? I mean,
you pay money when Derek's fighting because you know that he's going to bring it.
And I don't think that can go on much longer, though. I think people are not going to want to see him going on much longer.
No,
so I think that sentiment's going to fall off.
I think that we're at that stage where people go, no, enough's enough now.
I think he's a combination of the two. I like Derek. I do.
He gave a better shot than Dillian Whyte did. That's for sure.
Yeah,
he did.
Yeah, that's true. But my grandmother could have done a better shot than Dillian Whyte. She's been dead 20 years. But I'm kind of in the camp, right? And I don't like using the word loser in conjunction with any sportsman, because it's kind of like if you use the word cheat and loser, people get remotely offended. But I've got my feet in two camps. I've got he's the best paid loser in British boxing, alongside one of the bravest warriors we got. So I'm sort of hybrid.
Yeah, I like that.
He's your mate. So are you going to sit in that camp as well?
No, listen. I like I like both terminologies there, but that one there is that Derek is like whatever people think about him, whether they love or loathe Derek Chisora, he's a warrior.
I don't think you can loathe him. I didn't like.
He's a warrior.
I remember that's a fact. I remember years ago when I was I lived in Marbella and still do, not so much these days, but in recent times I was there a lot. And he was out there training, and I didn't like him.
Yeah.
Not because sometimes you get a perception of somebody.
Yeah.
Actually, he's very different from the perception that you have of him.
He is.
And he's much brighter.
Yeah.
He's quite a genuine.
But he's a likeable guy.
Despite the fact he doesn't pay his bets.
Right? Yeah.
He is actually quite a genuine guy. I know he looks after people in other walks of his life that other people are not privy to. So I wish him the best. But by the way, whilst we're talking about who he's fought, I've just got having a little note in front of me, turning around saying Fury 3 times.
Yeah.
Usyk, Parker twice, White twice, Carlos Takam, Pulev twice,
Come on,
David
mate.
Hay.
Look at the resume.
Look
at the resume.
David Price was always a disappointment to me because Vitaly Klitschko, of course, David Price, being the person, I think everyone thought David Price was going to go and win a world title, didn't they?
Yeah.
And then who was it who done him? Tony Thompson.
Tony Thompson done him, yeah.
2 or 3 times, didn't
But
he?
unfortunately for him, Tony Thompson then failed drugs test a bit. That ruined David Price's career. That is the
and then psychological things.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It ruined him as a fighter. Yeah. And that's what really, I can't use the word that I want to use on here because it's a little bit foul-mouthed, but that's what really annoys me about drug cheats. I go, listen, you ended a kid's career there, because that's what happened with David Price. His career was ruined off the back of that Thompson defeat. But hold
on.
Yeah.
You never judge anybody in life by how you do in success. You judge somebody in life by how you do in adversity. It's not what happens to you. It's not how hard you get knocked down. It's about how hard you can hit when you get back up again. Right? So surely you can say that started the sort of eroding of David Price. But David Price eroded himself there and afterwards. He could have rebuilt himself.
Yeah, but I think the psychological damage, that's the thing, Simon.
But he had to be stronger.
When that's done, that psychological damage, right? Let me give you an analogy. So if you're running through walls, right, and you can run through a wall, so you run through walls, you run through 10 walls, and then all of a sudden you get to the 11th wall and you run at it, and bang, you run into it and it knocks you down. What I'm saying is, the 12th wall, you're going to run up to, you're not going to run like you're going to run through. And this is the thing with David Price. Once that happened to him,
that's like saying
he got the... Do you know, like the rabbit in the headlights thing?
But that's like saying Lennox Lewis getting knocked out by Hazim Rahman.
But what I'm saying is...
never then gone back and knocked Hazim Rahman out.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it doesn't happen to everyone. What I'm saying is some individuals, like Lennox Lewis, are different.
But it pushed him.
You know what I mean?
It pushed him over the edge.
Absolutely.
He probably
some people don't recover from it.
Yeah, and he didn't. Right.
Audley Harrison never, when he got knocked out by... Who did he get knocked out? Michael Sprott.
Audley.
When the first time...
Fraudly. Not first time Audley... because he's up here.
No, exactly. The first time Audley got knocked out by Michael Sprott, he was never the same again. He was like... He had that thing, the psychological...
we had to endure another 5 years of his nonsense, didn't we?
Absolutely, we did.
Anyway, listen, moving on. In the same division, this is where the controversy comes into the conversation, because we had an undercard, good old Uncle Frank put on, £27 on pay-per-view, so put a decent undercard on. Daniel Dubois, right?
Yes.
And Kevin Lorena, right?
Now, this is controversial.
Now, first and foremost, Daniel Dubois, obviously we know the result, and if you don't, then he won the fight and knocked out his opponent in 3 rounds with a lot of controversy before that. But 2 years ago, Daniel Dubois was being written about by people like Jeff Powell as forget Joshua, forget Tyson Fury, make way for Dynamite Dubois.
Yeah.
He's coming through.
Yeah.
And since then, we've seen Joyce, the fight with Joyce. We've seen him come back and beat Trevor Bryan and a couple other fights in amongst that. And then we saw what happened on Saturday night.
Yes.
Which was a unfancied South African fighter.
Cruiserweight. Yeah.
With 1 heavyweight fight to his belt.
Yeah.
To his name. Putting Daniel Dubois on the seat of his pants 3 times in the first round.
Yeah. 2 times.
What did you make of that?
Well, listen, I'm going to break that down because I like that a lot. So it was a complete surprise. Lorana was one of those guys that we expected that was going to come over here. Dubois was, when I looked at him in a way, and I was like, there is no way this guy is more my size than Daniel's. There's no way this guy is going to survive with a big powerhouse like Daniel Dubois. Well, he proved us wrong. He threw that right hook. I think it was about 1 minute 30 seconds into the round, or maybe a bit further, 1 minute 40 seconds into the round, he threw a right hook that hit Daniel high on the head. Daniel wobbled, he went back, and then he took a knee. Yeah. Right? So I went, fine, he's hurt. He's all right, no problem. Then when he gets up, the second 2 knockdowns, I don't know if you've seen it, Simon, if you watched it back, but the second 2 knockdowns, he doesn't actually get hit. He just goes down. He's going back, and Lorena's coming at him, and he goes down, and I go, what's going on here?
So as a fighter, what does that mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What are you doing, mate? Well, then after the fight, because I couldn't understand it, and then Daniel's got through that. By the way, can I talk about this first round as well?
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah. So we get down to the knockdowns. Then he gets through the second round and takes Lorena out in the third round, which was controversial because he said he was still on his feet, wanted to continue. The referee stopped the fight. That's where we was at. What do I make of it? So
what do you make? There were some comments made by Carl Frampton that talked about him being clearly concussed.
Well, he was.
Daniel Dubois.
Because he said what happened there.
The corner didn't look after the fighter's best interests. How do you square that? How do you square that circle? Because you've got Carl Frampton, who's an elite fighter, a world champion in his own right previously, sitting there telling you that a fighter that went out and knocked someone out 2 rounds later has not had a duty of care from his corner that should have, by definition, if he's saying that, pulled him out of that fight.
Yeah. I wouldn't have pulled him out in that situation.
So what's Carl on about then?
Yeah, so Carl was just looking at it, and I think he was just reacting on what Daniel said. He was in the moment. Daniel said, "What happened there?" So clearly, he does not remember getting knocked down or something to that extent. Yeah. But what Shane McGuigan will do in the corner is he'll be looking in that kid's eyes, and he can see actually he's all right. Yeah. He's just slightly dazed from this. But I understand that.
But Shane was then talking about injured knees.
Yeah. Ligaments.
Right. So
this is where the confusion is.
So what's going on here then?
This is where the confusion is because he's gone down twice.
He gets clumped on the back of the head, goes down, and suddenly it's his ligaments.
Well, did you see the interview after? So what he said in the interview, what Daniel Dubois said in the interview afterwards was, they said, Daniel, you got caught with a big right hook and you went down, but you seemed to do your knee when you went down. Did you twist your knee and he went, no, there was nothing wrong with my knee. He said he caught me with a good shot. He said, and I went down. He said, I did feel something in my knee, but there was nothing wring with my knee. But I think what Shane's argument was Shane was trying to say his leg was giving way, and that's why he went down a couple of times, because he's done ligaments in his knee. And then they said, Daniel, did you do your knee in? And he said, no, I didn't do my knee.
Does that say anything about Shane?
No.
That shouldn't be said, or could be said, or should be said?
I'm not sure if it was Daniel being concussed or whether Shane was saying, listen, I know what's happened. Because apparently today, or this morning, he's got a big swelling on his knee. So I can only go by what I'm being told. Right. But, you know,
maybe that's putting all his weight on it when he took the knee.
I think it was very, very strange. Like the knockdown he was hit high on the head. It was freezing cold.
But you tell me as a fighter, if you get hit high on the back of the head, it's going to daze you, isn't it? It's not. That's not something that's.
What's the word? Discombobulated.
Discombobulated. Yeah. Disorientated.
Discombobulated.
Yeah. I spent a lot of my time discombobulated listening to your load of old pony, but that's a different one.
Now, I learned that word today, by the way.
Did you?
Just for you.
Thank you. Good.
Yeah. I thought you'd appreciate anything more than 3-4 syllables.
Influence in your life, Spencer.
Anyway,
I truly do. We got to deal with this one because this is just ridiculous. 2 minutes 51 seconds.
Yeah.
The bell gets rung with a fighter in banging trouble.
Yeah.
That probably might well get counted out.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, What say you? I think we've done a little bit of discussion, tried to go to the British Boxing Board of Control or whatever they prefer to be
British
called.
Boxing Board of Control. Yeah, we spoke to Robert Smith. Robert explained that.
We did something, didn't you? You did something. You basically timed the round, didn't you?
I timed the round.
You decided to say, right, well, I'm going to, before I get into the semantics of how this could happen this way or the pedantics of it, I'm going to time from when the first bell went to when the last bell went.
Yeah.
And what did that bring out an outcome?
Right, so I timed it from the first bell. You said to me, Spence, go back, start that stopwatch, make sure you get it done. So I wasn't even doing it myself, right? I went back, I said to my daughter Tia, I said, Tia, do me a favour. When this bell rings, you stop it. No, because I can't overload my brain. You know, it's like two things at once, multitasking.
Discombobulating
my brain, exactly, yeah. So, didn't want to get too confused, you know what I mean? Like pressing a button, start and stop, whilst watching the boxing. So we done that and we come up with 2 minutes, 51 seconds. And that was
so that was a duration.
So the duration was
from the first bell to the last bell, 2 minutes, 51 seconds. So the TV guys turned around and said, this bell's been rung.
Robert Smith from the Boxing Board of Control turned around and said, Robert Smith says, Spencer, you know the TV clocks do not run the same as the timekeeper, the official timekeeper for the fight. And I said, well, I do understand that, Robert, but I'm looking at the time clock on the TV and it says that it stopped 9 seconds early. He said, yeah, but you know it doesn't work because if the fight gets stopped and if something happens in the fight, you know,
the referee makes
allowances.
Which the TV companies don't.
Which TV companies don't.
So that would mean that the rounds would be longer. Right,
that's my point.
So so if a referee's making adjustments in the ring because he wants to stop the clock for various things that he's seen that the TV, so the TV camera goes bang,
longer.
The moment the first bell goes, we run for 3 minutes, and at the end of 3 minutes, we say that's the end of 3 minutes. Right? So they're running it off at 2:51. So Robert Smith tells you that the referees, the official timekeeper and the referee have a different perspective than the TV one because they have to make allowances in the ring that the TV companies don't. Right? So that would necessarily mean the bleeding round can't be shorter, right?
Correct.
It has to be longer.
This is my argument.
So so by definition, you'd expect that round to go to 3 minutes 20 seconds if there's an issue and you're 3 minutes 10.
Not 2 minutes 51.
So the explanation was, well, that's the explanation.
Yeah.
And we haven't actually looked at it ourselves. We haven't gone back and studied it ourselves. What does that tell you? So the TV companies, by our definition, by any logical, sane mind, besides boxing nonsense, final bell, the first bell gets rung, the last bell gets rung, 2 minutes 51 seconds. It's 9 seconds short.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no explanation for it. Besides the British Boxing Board of Control saying we do our official timekeeper is more relevant than the TV timing.
Yeah.
And we make adjustments in the ring, which would seemingly, by this logic, reduce the 3 minute round to 2 minutes 50 seconds.
Absolutely. I know.
Are we just after somebody for the sake of being after them? Or are we talking about people that are bordering upon being idiots?
And this is not us being controversial. This is us just stating facts. This is the thing that people, get wrong is that, oh yeah, I listen to you too and it's a great show, very controversial. So it's not controversial. It's talking the truth. Yeah. It's being honest. So all we're doing is picking up on this thing. Rodney Berman, who is Kevin Lorena's promoter, he's put in an official complaint, filed for a rematch, basically, on the grounds of this. What has happened? This is not us highlighting and causing problems. The facts are the facts. The round ended early.
I mean, I spent 10, 11 years owning a professional football club, some of it in the Premier League, some of it outside of it. And I saw amateur hour all the time, and it used to drive me crazy. And I used to look at the sport and the amount of money in it, and I'd look at the amount of money that I put into it and never understand why there was a lack of professionalism. I now look at boxing, a sport that I love, and a sport that I'm probably going to get involved in some capacity or another. And I look at it and I think to myself, am I an outsider just flapping my gums, getting on people's nerves? Or is this amateur hour? Is this preposterous to suggest that the explanation you get from the British Boxing Board of Control is that we do things differently inside the ring, so it means the TV companies are wrong, and that the rounds will be potentially longer by that explanation, yet we've got no explanation for a round being 2 minutes 51 seconds.
Yeah.
No explanation. And by the way, no care about it, because we haven't even bleeding looked at it ourselves.
And in that round, by the way, that Daniel Dubois had been down 3 times in, and as well as I do, he was in desperate trouble. 9 seconds is a long time when you're in desperate trouble. 9 seconds is a long time to survive when you're in desperate trouble. That's my point.
It damages the credibility of the sport again. It damages the reputation of the British Boxing Board of Control. I don't understand, Robert. The reason why I said to you, go talk to him, is because the last time I saw him, he came and tapped me up on the shoulder at the Clarissa Shields, because we had a martial fight, saying, I like what you have to say, but you don't always know what you're talking about. There's some gaps in your knowledge. So now I've gone and tried to get the gaps in our knowledge filled. I've learned less. I've come out learning less than I knew before I started in terms of this dynamic. But that controversy aside, and it is poor, Daniel Dubois, is he the real deal? Is he going to be able to take it and make it? Is he going to be able to move through the gears? Because we were all talking a couple of years ago, and I was in that little gang of thinking this guy is going to go somewhere. Are we now looking at someone that could be another Derek Chisora in terms of gets into big fights, doesn't win them, gets in opportunities because of the feeling that he's worthy of them, but when it comes to it, he ain't got the juice.
Yeah.
Do you think he has? What's your overall takeaway?
He's maybe cut from different cloth from Derek. What we know with Derek is, like I say, he needs saving from himself. I think what we saw with Daniel the other night was raised question marks saying, does he really want it as much as maybe others do? And I think that we go back to the Joyce fight where we know he had a damaged broken eye socket or whatever, and that's fair enough. And I think that was great that he took the knee and effectively saved his career. And I said, listen, I think the public are being too hard on him for what happened there. He got knocked down the other day in the first round. First knockdown.
It can happen, though, can't it? That can happen. But does it happen to fighters that are on a destiny of greatness?
Well, listen, I think that sometimes it's like you said earlier on in this conversation. It's not the fact that you get knocked down. It's the way you recover from getting knocked down.
But he did,
and the way you come back, and he did recover. That's right, and he come back.
He ain't going to get a chance if he fights against elite fighters. Well, he's not going to get a chance to recover. That's why
we've left a massive question mark hanging over him still about. We don't still know where he exactly fits in this heavyweight scene.
If you were to have a bet, Spence, and you were to put your last monkey on it, 500 quid or whatever it is, would you bet on Daniel Dubois being what people thought he was going to be, which is a world champion?
Right now, I'm not so sure.
Especially with Tyson staying around as well.
Oh, absolutely. No, but it's just with the fighters that are around and the fighters that are coming through. You know, the tiered fighters that are coming through. When you look at your Hrgovic's and your Joyce's, you obviously got Usyk that's still around, and Frankie Sanchez, and all these guys. Anthony Joshua, Dillian White. You just look at it and go, I don't really know at the moment.
Any case for Daniel Dubois getting a shot? If Tyson comes through, if Tyson fights Usyk in March, beats him, fights Joe Joyce in the summer, beats him, is there any case, and I know there might be another couple of fights in there for Daniel Dubois before this stage, any case in your mind for Daniel Dubois to be the next cab off the rank after Joe Joyce, after Alexander Usyk, before Anthony Joshua?
I think where we're at right now is pending on these next two performances, like you say, because he's probably going to have to go through two more fights, and we might see a kid that you just go, wow, that might have been a genuine knee problem, and we're not quite so sure, because it was just very strange the way he went down, Simon. If I'm honest, I go, he went down without being hit, so was it a knee problem? So I don't want to be giving the kid a hard time, and it was a legitimate knee problem. Fair enough. We can make excuse for that, but we will find out in the next two fights. Is what I'm saying is you'll find out much more about his character. About his character, Absolutely.
We now move on to the final part of what we get to talk about every week, or in this instance, every other week, because we've been away. I've been in Doha, sunning myself, watching World Cups and listening to lazy footballers.
Sunning yourself?
Sunning myself, playing paddle tennis.
Watching a little bit of the World Cup.
Great and good, mate. By the way, didn't tell you. Who I play paddle tennis with? Khabib.
Go on. And who won?
Well, he was crap. But
Did you beat him?
He didn't know which end of the bat to hold. Right? I didn't want to tell him. Right? He was over here.
You don't mess with Khabib. You don't mess with him. You let him win.
Well, no, he didn't win.
I can't believe you beat him.
You play doubles. Play paddle.
Did that not worry you beating him?
But I said to Nasser Al-Khelafi, who's the chairman of PSG, bang, there's a name drop. Right? I said, he's useless. He said, you tell him. I'm not going to tell him, right? But I just thought I'd let you know that. I bumped into him. I said,
and you beat him.
And I let Cattrall know. By the way, I'm out here with Khabib, and he's gone, right, telling me he owes me a game of billiards. He went, Adam who? No, he didn't. He said,
Cattrall. If you let Cattrall know, is that why I see Cattrall in that cupboard down there, crying?
No, Adam was like,
in the cupboard.
He sends his best regard. He actually said to me, I owe Adam Cattrall a game. I said, Paul. He said, Paul.
That's right, he played Paul,
That's right. Anyway, end of my name dropping.
So you kicked Khabib's arse, so let's pull it out of there. You've done that.
Metaphorically speaking.
You kicked his arse.
With a paddle tennis bat. I need a paddle tennis bat, a shuttle, a cricket bat, a baseball bat, and every other bat just to get
literally pulled his pants down, spanked his arse.
I was gonna, but I was in a benevolent mood.
Okay.
I didn't feel that would be right for him in his stage in his career. Right? Anyway, going on to the final part of our discussion, which is always an interesting part. And this is questions from people that watch us.
Yeah.
The fools. And the first question, we've got two questions this week. So the first question is from Sam. do we, because it's not directed at just
Yeah.
me too. Right?
Thanks for involving me. Yeah, I am here.
I was actually involving myself.
Yeah.
Right?
Of course you would.
Because it seems to be directed. Do you?
Yeah,
Right?
but I think they're talking to you.
No, they're speaking to you. They're going, what's this clown?
Yeah.
Right? Do you consider Amir Khan a British boxing legend? How does he compare to, say, Ricky Hatton?
Well, I'm going to put Amir Khan. I'm going to put Amir Khan up there. The reason being, you've got to look at this kid's career, what he done, and I think that what people do with Amir Khan is look at his losses. And I go, well, actually, I'm looking at his whole career. Olympic silver medalist at 17 years of age. You know how difficult that was to beat, and he lost to Kinahan in the final, which was an unbelievable legend of the sport. You know,
Kinahan.
No, Kinderland.
Oh, okay.
Kinderland. Yeah, Marco Kinderland. Was it Marco Kinderland? I think I got that right.
Okay.
We'll have to double check that. Anyway.
Go home.
Yeah. Anyway, so no, it is Marco Kinderland. I'm sure that's what his name was. Okay. Yeah, you're thinking of someone else. Right. Yeah, I know you're thinking of. Anyway, and you look at that, 17 years of age, silver medal, incredible, turns pro. Goes and wins world titles. Did he win world titles at 2 different weights?
Fights people like Marcus Medina.
Absolutely.
In absolute battles.
And that was
loses to Lamont Peterson in a fight which everyone knows is a bit iffy. Fights the Garcia.
But when he got knocked out, Prescott knocks him out in the first round up there in Manchester. And I was there commentating on
and everyone was gobsmacked.
That knockout was so bad that I went, this kid never comes back from that. I thought that was the end of his career. Well, really, when you look back on it, it was just the beginning of his career.
I think
I think he goes down in history.
So do I. And I think one of the most beautiful fights I've seen, and I always wax lyrical about this, was the job that he did in Devon Alexander.
Yeah.
I just thought that was just style and timing.
That was his career best performance.
And pure elegance. And whilst it didn't feature some huge, great big boom knockout, it was a brilliant fight, wasn't it?
Yeah, I get it. I'm with you. That was his career best performance.
I don't think he needs to be compared to Ricky Hatton.
No.
To be compared to being given the moniker of a legend. I think
he cemented his legacy,
He's won a world title. And he's won 2.
Yeah.
And he's fought in the fights that he's fought. And whether we think that what we saw at the last knockings, was the end result of a long career and someone just getting paid with Kell Brook.
Sure.
That doesn't alter the fact that the legacy and the body of work that he did, I think, entitles. Legend is an expression that gets overused.
Yeah.
But for the purpose of this conversation, we can give him a legend status.
I think so.
Right. Here's one that will fit with you, Spence, because it's the sort of gear that you wear. Right. Do you have any issues with? This is not you. Yeah, this is a you, not a we. You can have this one.
Oh, you're giving it to me, yeah? It's got to be something to do with a female, I suppose.
Do you have any issues with Ebony Bridges wearing lingerie at weigh-ins?
Absolutely zero issues with that at all. Why would I?
I don't know. I don't know the genesis.
Lawrence, Lawrence, what's the point of the question, mate? Like, what's the point of the question? Who would have issues with that? I think that she sort of brought something different to the sport. But listen, what she wears on the scales is down to her. She does back that up, to be fair, because the girl can fight. She gives it a go. Again, she's valued for money, so not bad to look at on the scales and can fight. Win-win.
Okay. What kind of underwear would you wear if you were on the scale, Spence? You'd wear mankini, wouldn't you?
All day long. Mankini, lime green.
All right, okay, Spence, wonderful. That's it.
Is that
this week? That's it for episode 8 of Talk Boxing. Myself and Spencer will be back next week, of course. Now, you guys don't forget to keep liking and subscribing. Keep leaving the questions in the comment section below. And me and the little fella will be back next week.